So I totally agree with that, with the presentation.
Thank you for that. I'll show you again for the reporting. I'll say that there was a wonderful description of another way in which machine learning tools can lead you to the wrong answer. A tool that will try to match based on columns that are the same and the data is not the same. And I think we can all think of, thank you for that concrete example, and I think there's many ways in which software systems can just give the wrong answer. We know that. But the more it's right most of the time, the more we're led to forget or discount the times it might be wrong as rare cases that don't matter. And I think it's important, even in that case where most of the time it's right, to remember that where it's wrong matters, and where it's wrong can matter to individuals, and where it's wrong can matter to societies. And what I usually often say is something like, we will all be dogs in the snow, some way or another. We will all be somebody that a machine learning system thinks we're one thing and we're not. The question is, one, if we know that they did this, will they care? Probably not, unless we make them. And here's another even subtler question, will we even know that they made a decision about us that was wrong? There's lots of decisions being made about us all the time, and we don't even necessarily know all the decisions that are being made against us. It's a death by 1,000 cuts out there, right? And that's why I think it might not be top of mind at this moment, but I think it's important that we all keep it in mind, because as we become more and more confident, leading to overconfidence in software results, these are some of the pitfalls that are waiting there to get us and be used against us, right? And I don't want to be someone who builds systems that put me in jail, or build systems that hurt me. I want to build the future I would actually like to live in. I would like to build a system where if my kids say, I'm a dog, not a wolf, someone will listen to them. And that's going to take a little fighting. It's not what we're going to get. No one's going to hand us that.
Okay, can we go that question?
Oh, okay.
I think in South Africa, research will be in the top of our mind, because I'm not sure if you are aware, but my only fear is that these systems are also now encroaching on the human needs, with the creation
The creation of human.
Yes, human nature. Recently, one of our apprentices in South Africa, I don't know if you know her name, she's been denied the opportunity to run, mainly because some software determined and detected that testosterone level is very high.
I did read about that. So the runner that is told they can't compete because their testosterone level is too high. I've definitely heard about that case.
But my concern is, even if that is true, to at least a certain extent, and if it's an advantage, it is really an unfair advantage.
Say that question one more time.
I'm asking if because apparently it was detected by some sort of system developed by someone somewhere. So I'm saying if it is really true that is the case, as an advantage, it's really an unfair advantage, because I mean, what else could she have done? She was born in the
So, I think it's very interesting what people consider as too much advantage and what they don't. If you look at all the people in the world, people are born with advantages and disadvantages. We all have a different mix, right? You might have a really loving family, you might have a lot of money, you might have gone to a good school, you might have had a great teacher, you might have good friends, you might be beautiful, you might have, you might be funny. Like, everyone has a different mix of advantages and disadvantages, right? When do we look at someone and say, your advantages are unfair to everyone else? If I was going to say that, I think I might look at different people than someone whose testosterone level is a little high. I might look at some other people who were born with more advantages that I think were unfair to the rest of us. I certainly wouldn't start with that one. It seems a little crazy to me that that's the one we're going to get worried about. Like, I see maybe other female runners saying, like, I can't compete against her. But I would go with you. You're born a certain way. It's not your fault you have this extra advantage. I mean, like, what about basketball players that are tall? We're going to start to say you're too tall? Or you're like, You know, like where do you draw the line and say it's too much? I personally think it's crazy. I think you would just, I think the right thing to say is, okay, well, you're a woman runner and you have to compete against this woman who has this advantage. Well, it's too bad for you. You were kind of born in an era where you're up against someone who's really advantaged. Sorry, it's not like that hasn't happened to anyone else, right? Okay, and then eventually, you know, maybe there'll be another era where, you know, that's what and I would just say, I can see your point that you're sorry that, you know, you're up against someone really tough and you think that maybe that's a little unfair, but in the grand scheme of unfairness in the world, you have no idea what you're talking about. That's my personal opinion, but I respect other people's opinion on that matter.
Okay.
Prof, thank you very much. Okay, you want to take one more?
Please.
Okay, well, mine is just a very short one. Thank you for the brilliant presentation. I just wanted to say that in Africa, well, especially I'm an engineer, and we do problem-based, learning. So we try to solve problems using software. So, and we don't pay attention too much most of the times to, ethical issues that much. We just want it to work. And as I'm listening to you, I'm trying to, ask myself, where do I actually draw the line between actually just trying to solve the problem and getting it to work, and actually looking at the ethical side of things?
That's an excellent question. So the question is about when you're first building a system, you just want it to work, and it's hard to think of everything. And I think security is like that too. Like the internet has a long history of early internet protocols just wanted it to work, and they weren't very secure. And we've been retrofitting security into the internet over time. And maybe at the beginning it would have been too tough. Because think about security is really just a tax. Security doesn't give you anything, it just keeps other people from taking your stuff. And like you can have, like if you imagine like you have a lock on your house, and you make a really, really tough lock, and you lock yourself out all the time because you lose the keys and you forget the password and it's like too tough for you. Like you could make it's a tax, right? It's making things difficult for the good things to happen. But is security important? What would happen if we didn't try to secure anything? Right? We would lose the good we're trying to have, right? Am I right? I think this is another example. There's good that can be had out of these systems, but if we're not careful about this aspect, these systems could be used against us. I don't want to build a system that someone's going to use against me and my kids. Do you want that? So we have to, just like we have to secure the system so people don't just come and steal the good we're building, we have to worry about algorithmic bias and accountability, because otherwise these systems are just going to be used to enforce the past, to hurt individuals, to hurt societies. I don't think we have a choice. Just like we don't really have a choice about security, we don't really have a choice about this. If we don't pay attention to it, the good we're building is going to be stolen by mischievous people. It sucks, but that's the reality. So maybe you build something first and you realize it's not as secure as you want, or it's not watching out for algorithmic bias as much as you want, but you better keep your eye on, like this, what I was saying, what will be the system of governance that insists on iterative improvement and debugging? You have to start somewhere. Maybe it's not perfect, but what socio-technical system will it be deployed in that will insist on evidence of where it's right and wrong, that will insist on systems that make it better and better over time? It doesn't have to be perfect to start, but don't let the imperfection be baked in by someone's intellectual property rights. For example, right? That's mine. Does that help?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you all. It's been a real pleasure.